The officer then gets out of his car to go confront him. As the man jumps the fence and lands on the other side, that subject then kind of turns at him in a threatening way. He's moving a little bit towards his waist, enough that from what we have now, the officer felt in fear of his life, and the officer pulled his firearm and discharged 2 shots at the suspect. The suspect was not struck either time with those shots. The suspect continued to flee on foot. The officer at that time did a great job with just him being out here by himself, try to contain that perimeter, kind of keep him hemmed up in a 1 or 2 block radius. We got a lot of officers that came out, had the air unit come up, had canines come out, got a real tight perimeter set up. Within the next hour or an hour and a half, we were able to actually locate that suspect in a house on that same street, laying in the backyard behind that. That was good. We had some citizen involvement with us trying to help us keep the area contained. Y'all did a great job helping keep that information out to the public. This is an armed robbery suspect that we had running loose, so worried about what he was doing and where he could go, but thankfully worked like he should have. We got him contained. There was nobody hurt, but it highlights certainly the dangers that these officers face, and especially these officers that ride in some of these outlying areas like this, that they're alone for the greater part of their day when they're confronted with things like this. And thankfully he wasn't hurt or injured, and the suspect wasn't hurt or injured, and just complied with the officer. Certainly wouldn't have had the need to do this, and no telling what he was doing. Still a pretty large area, and as y'all know, there's been some inclement weather, a lot of rain, lightning. That's kind of hampered what we've done to do an area search, so we'll continue on through that during daylight hours here, and continue to work that robbery aspect of this to ensure we have the right man for this. That's still a little bit in the works, but as we go on, we'll know some more. The officer involved is actually a 12-year veteran. He is Officer Jeff Webster. He's a 12-year veteran with us. Officer Jeff Webster. He's placed on administrative leave, which is pretty standard for our policy. And as we get more information on the suspect, I don't initially want to release that suspect name. I feel like we have some information that we need to do with some photo spreads, and to get that picture of him out there certainly could hurt our case with the robbery. I don't want to jeopardize that. So as that comes out, a news media release will go out when it's safe to let that suspect's name go out and what he's been charged with from there. So,
Chief, did he have a gun?
At this point in time, we have not been able to locate a gun, but like I said, the area that he ran through is a pretty good wooded area. Lightning, I'm not going to jeopardize some of these officers to be out there looking for evidence in there. We have daylight now, and we'll continue on looking through that. It's part of what we do. Obviously want to know if he did have a gun and where he went after he turned and ran. Understand that I can't question the officer involved in the shooting yet. There's administrative procedures that go. A whole separate investigation is done with these use of deadly forces. The state attorney's office will conduct a separate investigation, just like we will, and the results of that will come out. Administratively, we'll review this case in the future at a response to resistance board, and more details will come out through then. But that officer has a right to not talk if he chooses not to, which is pretty standard with these kind of things. And that's usually what happens. So we get a little bit of information at the scene, enough that we can go on, but to go through that more, we'll wind up in time.
Did you armed when you robbed that IGA?
That was an armed robbery. He did have a firearm and a pistol, or have a pistol in the video and picture. So what he knows, this officer had watched that repeatedly and was aware that this is a bad guy who's doing this, and obviously, yeah.
I just want to make sure I have it straight. So he jumped that fence, fell, and then the officer thought he was going for a gun?
The way he turned him was enough that caused that officer some concern. After he jumped the fence, after he jumped over that fence, landed, and made an abrupt turn towards that officer was enough to make him believe that his life was in danger.
And the fact that the officer fired because he was a fleeing felon?
Well, that's another aspect of our use of deadly force. That if we believe that you're chasing a fleeing felon that's a danger to the public, that's another aspect that you can use deadly force. But again, with the limited information that we have now, it would be improper to kind of try to fill in the blanks. I just know that based on the preliminary information that we have, the officer felt enough in fear based on his actions to deploy deadly force.
Where was he ultimately found?
He was actually found in that same street, at a different house from the house he jumped over the fence at, but within that same block in Del Monte Street.